He hasn't clicked. There it is.
Yay.
Please begin.
Okay. I guess we'll start with roll call.
Good evening and thank you. This is the Oregon City Arts Commission for November 16th. Jen Woodward.
Present.
Choir.
Here.
Emma Lugo.
Here.
Selena Jones. I think I just saw her on Zoom, did we not? Oh, Tima is also on Zoom.
Okay.
Karen Burrig.
Here.
Trieste Andrews.
Here.
Tima, it looks like you are muted on Zoom. Are you able to unmute yourself?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Oh, there you are. Hello.
I am here.
Terrific, thank you. So we do not have with us, oh, I need to also call Tammy Jo Wilson.
Here.
Thank you. Selena Jones or Josh Planton? Anybody else on Zoom that I'm not catching? All right. Thank you. Let's proceed.
So next we will do the adoption of the agenda. So has everyone had a chance to review the agenda for tonight? Does everybody have a copy of it? Great, so we'll need a motion to approve the agenda in a second.
Before that motion, I'd like to add two short things. One thing we talked about last month, we had folks from the county talking about the county courthouse. So we want to talk about who we will have representing us at that committee. So I'd like to talk about the County Courthouse Art Committee. And I'd also like to talk about some dates for January's meeting.
Okay, so those are added to the minutes.
Thank you.
Where do you want those put in the agenda?
After we meet with Kathy Rowe.
Okay, so
Thank
we'll
you.
do that after Kathy.
They should both be quick items, but.
Okay. Great, so we have in addition to the agenda, so do we have a motion to approve the addended agenda for tonight?
I motion to approve.
We need a second.
And I second.
Great, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great. Next, we have the approval of the minutes from October. Has everyone had a chance to review the October minutes? Are there any corrections or changes? No? Okay. We'll need a motion to approve the minutes from October.
I'll motion to approve. And I'll second that motion.
Great, all in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Great, motion's approved. The October minutes are approved. Now we have public comment. Citizens are allowed up to 3 minutes to present information relevant to the Arts Commission. Is there anyone here to present public comment? Or on the Zoom room?
Nor have I received notice of a comment, so I think we're good.
Okay, no public comment. Great, well then we will move on to our discussion items. We are so honored to have James Graham here. James is basically kind of he's kind of the person who got us all started and really, helped this baby Arts Commission get going. So we haven't seen you in a while, James. It's so nice to see you.
Thank you. You're very kind. Don't tell anybody, but this is my favorite commission. It has been a while, and Ann has been keeping me up to date after every meeting based on what you've been doing, and the work is piling up, I see. You had a grant program, small and large grants. We have 2 murals under our belt, I think. Is it 3? I think it's 3 murals on our belt. And I thought this is the right time now to come to you to talk about raising the Arts Commission's visibility in Oregon City. And also pointing out to the whole community that art is important. And so, Ann, if you would, I want to share with you some ideas, because we really want to help the commission accomplish those two objectives. And art awareness in Oregon City. Next slide, please. As I mentioned, art is important, and as you know, as all of you know from years of experience in art and with art, it attracts high-income consumers. It just naturally does. It unifies a community that may not be unified from time to time. It's almost like sports. It can have that power. It has natural allies, such as retail and restaurants and all kinds of venues for entertainment. They're natural allies. And as we all know, but it's been pointed out to us with the numbers, and Tres could tell you, we went to the Americans for the Art Tri-County meeting in Lake Oswego, where they showed us numbers. And art can be a contributor to job creation, directly as well as indirectly. Next slide. This is some interesting information I found from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. There are over 2 million artists in the United States. Most of them are women. The average age of the artist is 40 years old. I thought they'd be younger. I don't know why I thought that, but based on what their statistics tell us. The most common ethnicity amongst artists is white, followed by Latino, followed by Asian, and then something called unknown. I don't know what that means. And then I don't think it's much of a surprise to anyone, but artists are in most demand in Los Angeles, California, for all the obvious reasons. So before we go to the next slide, I wanted to take this time to share with you some ideas that's aimed at increasing your visibility as a commission, but also just as important, if not more important, increasing the visibility of art and its value in Oregon City. So next slide. So we have several goals here I would like to talk with you about. The first one is, I think you also are aware still, art is viewed as not relatable to a lot of people. I've come in contact with lots and lots of people over 30 years or so. When you say the word art to certain people, their eyes roll back in their head because they don't see it, but they use it all the time. They experience it all the time, whether it is art on a football game ticket or a concert ticket. What you're looking at is art, but it doesn't dawn on them that that's what that is. When you drink a can of beer, on that beer is art, and you don't think about it, but you just do it. So we want art to be relatable, and we want to increase the interest level of arts amongst men in Oregon City, younger individuals between the ages of 25 and 35, and more individuals of color for the arts. Next slide, please. One of the ideas I'd like to share with you, and of course, I usually don't share ideas with people unless I've tested them first. And this is one of those interesting ones. In order to create a public-private partnership, it's important that we do that to implement special programs. And I call it CAB, Commerce, Art, and Beer. And wouldn't it be interesting to have a competition amongst artists to develop a commemorative glass or design on the glass. And it would be used by participating breweries in Oregon City. Now, not any old kind of beer would go in that glass. It'd be a good beer, a good beer, I guess is the way to put it. The Arts Commission would pick the winner. And the breweries would use the commemorative glass for a special beer. And for every beer sold, the artist would get $1 for a year. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's a lot of money.
So not every glass, every beer.
No, every beer that's sold in that glass.
In that glass, yes.
We get
Not the glass, the beer itself.
Yeah. And if people wanted the glass, they could certainly buy it from the brewery. But and I talked to some brewery organizations. They love the idea, and one of them is already working up the numbers. It's kind of interesting. But that's one of the ideas. Next slide, please. Most residents in Oregon City are still not aware of the existence of this organization. And it's important that we increase the awareness of the Arts Commission. And so we need to establish administrative policy, and you can do that as a commission, that requires a special clause to be prominently displayed on everything you fund, and on everything you do. And next slide, please. And as a couple of examples of what those statements would be, as you can see, the event is made possible by a grant, or just simply made possible by the Oregon City Arts Commission. And so everything you do, and that, matter of fact, it should be part of your guidelines. If they can't prove they're going to do that, you don't fund it. The next slide, please. The goal. Let's increase the number of young people engaged in the arts on a continual basis, not a hit and miss, but on a continual basis. Next slide. So, in order to keep young people engaged with the arts on a continual basis, let's establish a competitive art-related activity in 4 categories. Music. The winner gets to play in a local venue. Culinary. The winner gets their recipe featured in a local restaurant on a menu. Sculpture. The winner gets approval to establish public art in Oregon City. So therefore, it'll be a permanent piece of sculpture there. Mural. The winner would get their art or their mural displayed on a building, and economic development would support it.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure, go ahead.
For music, would it be possible to change it, maybe with the support of our local media thing, that the winner could have a professional recording of a piece of a song of their music?
Sure.
I think it would be more valuable to the whoever wins it to have their music professionally recorded, just because performing is something you would normally get paid for, and so it's not really, I don't know, it doesn't seem like enough of a give.
An incentive?
An incentive, right. So, but a professional recording is something that can be out of reach really easily and be really valuable for them to be able to even just put their music out there on any platform.
Yeah, I agree with that. And these are ideas. I mean, none of this is written in stone. But
And we have a nice media center here that could probably
why
help.
not you?
Oh.
So, next slide, and this is the last one. The Arts Commission should get involved with the tourism activity that will be happening very soon. Sometime in the very near future, as you know, my office is responsible for both tourism and economic development. And we are moving tourism out of the office so that it rests with a private entity, or entity, I should say, an entity separate from city government. And we're looking at creating a destination management organization. And a destination management organization is one where basically there's a board of of representatives of each industry or certain industries on that board that help devise policy for tourism. And then that board is actually a separate legal 501c6 or 3. And that board then hires, after the strategic plan or whatever plan they come up with, which basically is a job description for either a private company or another 501c3 to actually do the marketing, following the strategic plan that exists. And there are a couple of organizations, or cities actually, in our region, in our Portland metro region, that do this already. Wilsonville is one of them. They have a DMO. And also, I said Wilsonville, and also McMinnville. They also have a DMO, but they call it, they being, I think it's McMinnville, no, it's Wilsonville, they call it a destination marketing organization. But it doesn't really matter what you call it, it's what you do with it. And that's the important thing. And so therefore, it gives that organization, if it's separate from the city, it gives that organization a lot of flexibility. And of course, we receive transit lodging tax from the hotel that funds tourism. So that money would be turned over to the entity, the destination management, to manage. Of course, it's still the city's money. It's still the state money. So they would have to be careful as to how they apply those funds. But this organization should get more involved with that future effort. And hopefully you have a representative on that board. Then partner with the Arts Festival and other festivals that promote the arts. And I think that partnership is good, and that partnership can be developed in many ways. And it's not only the Arts Commission, Arts Festival, but also the Brewery Fest. Partner with those individuals in ways that make sense for both parties. And all of this will raise the visibility, I'm confident, will raise the visibility of the Arts Commission as well as the value of art. And I would also suggest in my last comment here, before we have a discussion, take questions, is that probably it's a good idea for most people not to hear the word the arts, because they will do the same thing that many people do, and that is roll their eyes in the back of their head, and it's not relatable. You can call it something else, but it has to be relatable to them so that they can actually appreciate it and then not worry that they have to be of a certain kind of education or a certain kind of stature or a certain kind of income to enjoy the arts, that type of thing. So those are my comments. I'm glad to have discussion and answer any questions. But this is not a situation where we can flush out an entire program right now. But I just wanted to pass these ideas along to you because we're willing to help you with the goal of promoting the arts in Oregon City.
Is there a printout of this slide presentation?
I'm sorry, say that again?
Is there a printout of this slide presentation?
I have not made copies of it, but I can email it to everybody. Yeah, or if you'd like me to make some copies, I can go ahead and make a couple.
I would love that.
What's that?
I would love that.
Okay.
Because it'll help me to ask questions.
Sure.
And I can also, you can have mine, because I certainly don't need it.
So I was wondering, how do you see this aligning with the in January, I think we were going to have a sort of retreat or discussion meeting, where we kind of get deep into deciding kind of what we're going to be working on over the next year. So how do you see these different ideas aligning with that kind of goal-setting meeting?
This can be part of it, that discussion. Yeah. That's why I said these are ideas, so it should be a part of that discussion. But keep in mind, what you were planning, I'm sure that in terms of what you were planning in January was based on the same goal, to increase the value of art to the community, or I should say raise the visibility of art in the community. So I think you end up at the same place.
Yeah.
Maybe you know the answer, or maybe you don't. Maybe it's just something that we all ponder as we go through this process, pointing out to the idea of really targeting and focusing on the male population and also the younger adult population and the youth population. It makes me think about and ask the question, what do the demographics of Oregon City look like right now? Like, what is the average age? How many, males do we have within the, younger 30-something age group compared to the older age group? And is there a way for us to hit that demographic of, the men and the youth, but then also look at where we are right now as a city, as far as what our population is made up of and the trajectory of where we're going to be in 5 years. If we're getting older, if we're getting younger, and then take that into consideration alongside that demographic. Maybe it's the same, maybe it's totally different, I'm not really sure. I have a feeling we're younger family oriented here, is my understanding right now. 30-somethings with kids is the impression I get. So, I don't know.
Well,
There was a question in there somewhere.
Before James answers that, I'm going to point out that Tima has a question as well, and then I'm going to go get some copies.
Well, to answer your question, we deal with the numbers every day.
Yes.
And in Oregon City, we have a large group of young people in this city between the ages of 18 and 35. Large group. And we're very fortunate to have such a big number of young people because a lot of communities don't have that. To answer in terms of men, there are actually slightly more men in the city than there are women. And the average age of those men are actually around 35 years old, around 35. And many of the individuals who work in this town, it's interesting to watch the economy kind of shift. It's shifting from blue collar to what we call gray collar. And gray collar are people who at one time worked with their hands a lot on machinery, on fixing machinery or fixing something. But the gray collars now work with computers. And they work with robots, and they work with more technology-oriented type things. It's still considered gray collar. And even from a political point of view, Oregon City is actually transitioning very slowly. So it's more of a purple city than a red city or blue city. It's more like that.
I wonder if there's an opportunity if we think of the demographic of male, gray collar, as you're saying, youngish. I feel like they would be very much more technology minded and really thinking about the advancements of where we're going with that, and some things in line with that could really help grab their attention in what we do. Along with the beer, that's all, everybody, obviously, but their affinity to interact, connect with, and communicate and do everything with technology and be really interested in the future of it could be something we tap into as well.
Yeah, it has to evolve over time, but I thought that we addressed the lowest hanging fruit.
Yes.
I think someone's online that wanted to. Tima?
Tima, did you have a question?
Well, I did. Thank you, James, for presenting. My question was, is this the city commissioners that have come up with this, or is it just something that you've brainstormed for? I think they are wonderful goals, and I'm very happy that you've presented these. It's especially the marketing of the Arts Commission has been something brought up repeatedly with internally. So definitely having more of a presence at the arts festivals and different events within Oregon City is very important. So I'm very glad that you're, putting it out there that there definitely needs to be more of a presence. But that's the only question I have is this something that the city commissioners have, themselves decided upon or whatnot, so.
This comes strictly from me. This is our brainchild. The commission isn't aware of this at all. So that's the answer to your question.
Well, I think it is wonderful, and I hope that we can definitely get it implemented.
I think I have a little bit of a two-part question. I think when you brought up like getting younger people involved and said like have a music competition, I would add to that like maybe a music video competition where the song itself could win and also the video could win, and that way there'd be social media interaction that could be voted for on social media platforms and things like that. Would be, and then also the winners could be like have a screening somewhere like at Willamette Falls Studio, like top 5 and pick a winner and things like that. Kind of like a battle of the bands, but a little more virtual with ending with like something live. Anyways, that's just an idea. But my question for those things are, for funding for those things, are those coming out of Art Commission funds?
Yes.
Okay.
It will come out of Arts Commission funds. Now, not all of it will. Some of it will come out of economic development, but most of it will come out of your funds.
Right, and well, with economic development funds too, I completely 100% agree that we need to raise our visibility in the community. It has been talked about writing into our grant applications, like having some type of logo for us and things like that. I think one of the things we've had a lot of on our plate, but one of the things we've discussed is like, we want as much of our funds to go to funding art projects and artists themselves, and like getting a logo or website funded is a little bit like, so would there be any additional funds? Is there a way for us to get additional funds for that so that we can, what we have budgeted for the next 2 years can stay in the arts and given to artists and things like that? I guess is my question.
Well, to answer your question, the logo of the Arts Commission is the city logo. You can't have your separate logo because you are basically an advisory to the city commissioners.
Okay.
And so you're not a standalone kind of entity. You are a city entity.
Gotcha.
The other thing, in terms of a website, it shouldn't cost any. Matter of fact, it shouldn't cost anything to develop your website because it would be done internally inside of city government. And
By
so
whom?
by our staff.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would, you'd have a website based on what design you like, based on what you'd like to emphasize, based on what your design is, but it would be on the city's website.
Okay.
Thank you, bye, Tammy.
I had almost all of the same comments that Choir had. And my question is also the transit lodging tax, if there's a portion of that at all that we could have for that, because we've talked this internally ever since we started, is how do we get our name out there? So if there's t-shirts that we get, our commission, for all of the expenses for booths, if we had a booth at the Art Festival, a booth at First City Celebration, a booth at the Brew Fest, which be a great opportunity to be able to have those mugs that we have the winners and to be able to distribute and name the winner then, and have the dollar from those are all great ideas. But just like Choir said, our focus really is strongly on being able to fund arts in Oregon City between murals and sculptures and artists. And would there be any money at all that, I mean, because those are kind of incidentals. But would the city be able to help us with that so we don't have to delve into that? As you know, we got half of what we asked for. So,
I know.
So we're on a tight budget like everyone else.
I appreciate the question. From a legal point of view, you cannot have TLT. Legally, you cannot have that. It only goes to tourism efforts and tourism efforts. And tourism means to be able to attract anyone who is 50 miles and beyond our borders. So it is legal. Legally you cannot have it, basically. But to answer your other question, I think that between the Arts Commission and Economic Development, I think we can strike a good partnership to make sure that some of those things can be paid for out of economic development. So that's possible.
And what are our first steps? Like, I'm always nuts and bolts. So yeah, we want to get onto a web page. Who do we contact? Who does that for us? Do they create the design themselves? Do we help them? Like, how do we get onto a Facebook or a social media site under the city? And who do we ask?
You can do it in the following way. One, as a commission, it's important that you identify yourselves what you'd like to emphasize on the website, just mechanically. And what's important to, what you would like to see on the website. Then you would be shown, then you will also, either one of you or a couple of you could actually come up with a design that you like. And you vote on it. And then once you vote on it, then we turn it over to staff and they can design it. But keep in mind, there are certain parameters. It has to be, the logo has to be the city's logo. There are certain kinds of, I forget the term when you use logos, and there are certain, you can, like the NFL, they have a logo, but you can't, you really have to abide by the NFL's rules as to the fonts, the color, those kind of things. I forget the term, but I think you get my message. But you'd have to abide by the fonts and by the color. But beyond that, then you can design something that you'd like to portray yourselves.
Like at this point, if you Google Oregon City Art Commission, when that comes up, do we have the calls for artists that we are currently have? Do those automatically, who updates that? Is that something we should be managing? Is that done by the city?
It's done by the city.
Okay, and is that being done now?
I don't believe it's being done now because the website that you have right now is pretty static.
Right.
Right, it's pretty static. But now that we're talking about this, that can be done. It's just that we just need to know the information in terms of updates. You have to give us the information so that we can update it.
Yeah. So when we do that, when we put an RFQ or an RFP together, then we submit it and Ann helps us with that. Could that just be one last step? And then that's automatically, I think procedure-wise, I don't think we're really clear on.
Are you saying an RFP for a website or?
No, say that we had an RFP and you can Google Art Commission and that comes up and automatically all of the call for artists that are presently and currently out have like, this is current, this has just been filled, so that there's a continually update on the city website of what the Art Commission is doing. Who does that? And is that something we're supposed to be responsible for? Or
No,
who do we tell?
Staff does that. You have to give us, of course, the information, and then the staff would be able to do that, update that for you.
It looks like team out. Commissioner Carlson has her hand up again.
Thank you. So like today's meeting right now for the Arts Commission meeting, the city did not share it does not have a link to access the Zoom invite to participate within so we definitely need more support from the city. So if that's something that we need to internally submit to them for sharing, that's news to us. And like I said, if we need to start doing that, we'll do it. But as Trish was commenting about the RFQs for, the art installations or whatnot, are they like a standard RFQ? Like right now, I know Oregon City had the geotechnical services request for qualifications. Would it be on the same type of settings where they would be requesting services?
Everything,
I
go
was
ahead.
gonna say, I've got a couple answers to that. I think in terms of the staff that you would need to notify, you're looking at them. James and I would take the information that you shared with us, and then we would talk with Jared Lyman, who's the communications manager for the city. And then that's when we would get that information updated. So we would take the information, give it to our communications staff. And so that could be updated relatively regularly if we wanted to. I mean, I'm sorry that we didn't take the opportunity to do that when we let out the RFQ for so we were talking about, we gotta get the word out. So yeah, we can definitely talk. And I think it would be worthwhile, and James, you can tell me what you think of this idea, to set up a time with maybe Jared and someone on the Arts Commission to talk about the kinds of things in addition to regular announcements. What else would we want to maybe put on that website? So I think there's definitely room to have a conversation there. Yeah.
I would volunteer to be that person.
Awesome. Awesome. The only thing I would say too about Zoom, we can't announce. There's been Zoom bombing of different commission meetings lately in a variety of communities that are harmful. So, but I think what it says now is that if you want Zoom information, to contact me. That's what it's. So the actual link isn't out there, but if you go to the public agenda for it, says to contact me if you want the Zoom information. But you're totally right, Tima. We need to there's opportunity to expand that.
Is it possible that this could also be, produced as a webinar so that it's just live streamed?
Everything's live streamed. That's what Steve's doing right now.
Oh, great. Okay.
Yeah, and then actually, if you YouTube it, like if you YouTube Oregon City Arts Commission and you type in the date,
It comes up.
Yep.
that's how I do the minutes.
There you go.
And yeah, and this meeting and all your other meetings are on there forever.
We all live on YouTube.
I just want to check on the time, just to make sure that we have enough time for the item number 2.
Yep.
How much time are we going to need for item number 2?
At least 15 minutes, I would think.
Okay, so maybe at least maybe 5 more minutes on this, and then whatever else we have, we can send you all questions directly. I wanted to follow up on this idea about your cab idea, the thing with the beer. Just as one example of a set of ideas that you've presented to us, hypothetically, if we were to follow this idea, what would the role of the Arts Commission be in this? Would we be advertising the design for the mug, putting out a request for a proposal? Would we be more involved in the details of it? Because this is also sort of a private enterprise thing, and I'm not used to being on the Arts Commission thinking about, doing collaborations with businesses and trying to work out the terms for it. I guess that's something that maybe you would do, and you kind of come to us the way that they came to us with the design for the public bathroom down there at the elevator, and then we kind of do our thing.
Well,
Is that what you're thinking?
well, to answer your question, artists that want to participate, and they could, now, the commission has, there are 2 things the commission can be involved with. you can decide whether or not you want the glass, or do you want a design on a glass, or do you want them both? So that's a decision you can make. The other decision you can make is the artist. They submit their renderings, and then you choose which one you feel meets a certain kind of standard, or whatever standard you create, and because you do have to create standards.
Yeah.
And so, but once you approve that and you pick the winner, that's how you do it, and then the private industry takes over from there.
Yeah, that all sounds great. I just wonder, like, how it reflects on the organs. I mean, it seems like I'm just wondering how the Oregon City Arts Commission is sort of involved in this. This is sort of like a tourism idea that's sort of coming out of like your office, and so then it's kind of coming to us. So it's like, it's a project that's coming out of tourism. Tourism is kind of generating the idea, and then it's coming to the Arts Commission for collaboration on a small part of that. Like,
No,
we're not
actually-
really responsible.
No.
Are you thinking we're going to do more with that?
Well, if you say you accept this idea, this is now your idea.
What's a great idea?
Yeah, but if you accept it, it's now your idea.
Uh-huh.
And so therefore, you can actually administer it on those two areas that we just mentioned. And it's not a tourism, this is not a tourism, this is not a tourism element. This is actually an economic development.
Economic development,
Yeah.
okay. Right, and that's your office, right? Yeah.
So economic development is the broad overview. Tourism fits inside of it.
Okay,
So if you agree on any of these ideas, they become your ideas.
okay. So we talk about these ideas, some of these ideas that you've brought to us to think about, and we have a discussion about them and vote on if we want to follow through on
If you
them.
want to follow through.
And then if we do, then Ann will let you know.
Yeah, and then we'll work out the details. That's how you, and I'm sure that, I think Karen had mentioned, you have something coming up in January. So that's probably the appropriate time to discuss it and decide on what you want to do.
Okay.
You had a question?
I just want to clarify, if we take this idea, we are then responsible for writing the call to artists, reviewing the submissions and choosing a submission.
Correct.
And you would be more of a liaison between the business and us.
Exactly.
Okay, great.
We'll work out the details with the business. Because the other thing that I want to make sure that, in this situation, I want to make sure that for every beer that is sold, that the numbers are right. So therefore, I may have to get an accountant involved with the breweries to make sure that we're getting what we're supposed to be getting.
And I'm assuming, like, this is still, all communication rules are still the same, like, we still just communicate directly through Ann if we have information, and we only discuss this, like, at a commission meeting.
Right,
That's it.
that's right.
Yeah, okay,
And of course, you vote in a commission
Right.
setting, so, yeah.
okay, great.
I just have one teeny follow-up question. I'm just curious, how many breweries are actually in Oregon City? I know of 2.
Oh,
Oh.
A lot more than that.
a whole lot more than that. I think there are, I shouldn't say off my top of my head, but there are a lot of them.
Okay. And we're just talking breweries creating beer. We're not talking also like tap houses like Arch.
Well, this is an interesting thing, because, this idea, you can't have this at every brewery. You have to have a select. So it's almost like a diamond. You don't, no, more rare than a diamond, an emerald, which is more valuable than a diamond. You can't just have it in every beer place, because it devalues it. It has to be maybe at 1 or maybe 2. That's what draws people. You can only get it there. Now, there are all kinds of issues with that, but those things can be worked out. We're talking about something, this is not a one-time idea. This happens year in, year out, year in, year out. every year.
But because if a brewery is creating a beer around this art, like specifically for this art, like two breweries wouldn't serve that beer. Like only the brewery that created the beer would serve it, but other tap houses would serve it, especially local tap houses.
Well, there are certain breweries that have their own special brand.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like if you go to OC Brewing, it's just their beer. They're just selling their beer. They're not selling any other brewery.
And it would be
is
just
the
their
same.
beer.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah, so if we're creating a specific beer, we would have to pick one brewery, wouldn't we? But then are we talking about also partnering tap houses that are selling local breweries beers?
Well, that's
Because then it would,
that'd be up to you. Those
Okay.
are the kind of details you have to work on.
okay, cool.
But if you choose, for instance, if you choose a glass, then it's interesting enough, it becomes the glass with just happen to have beer in it. You can work it that way too. But these are details that can be worked out. It's just the overall concept that I find interesting. And,
Yeah. Cool concept.
Great. Are there any more questions or comments on this item at this time?
well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you.
James.
Yeah, thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Wonderful presentation.
And I just put in the chat the link to a list of all the breweries and tap houses in Oregon City.
Oh, very good. So next we have the assessment of Oregon City's public art collection. And I believe we have a presenter for that.
I'd like to present, this is Kathy Rowe, who's going to talk about her proposal to us. Thank you, Kathy. And if anybody needs a copy of the proposal.
I don't actually have a copy because I didn't know that I was talking specifically about my own proposal.
Well, yeah. Or your idea.
We have some over here. Yeah.
So folks will remember we sent out an RFQ looking for someone to undertake the assessment of, or assessment of the public art that Oregon City owns. And Trieste helped put that RFQ together, so.
So you have all this public artwork that it is in varying states of degradation, but you don't know what it's going to cost to refurbish it, or in some cases, you may want to completely redo some of the murals. So my proposal is all about what it would cost for you guys to get it up to where it should be. Get it back to looking like it's respectable public art. And I'm here for your questions.
So normally a proposal like might involve you sort of tell us what the proposal is, kind of go through it a little bit.
I was responding to the request. So that's what you requested.
One thing that we will need to work out and that we made very clear is the whole inventory. There's a lot of pieces of art, and that this assessment work would focus specifically on murals and statues. In Kathy's proposal, she does talk about the photographs and maps and other things that are in our historic archives and how those need to be treated. And I think that when we do have a report that'll be cataloged, but I think we were mostly curious about some of the murals and the statues. Yeah. You have anything you want to add, Trieste?
Yeah, and Kathy, you had a chance to take a look at that, correct? That whole list of the spreadsheet.
Yes.
Yeah, And so Kathy's familiar with that already. And also with the focus on, Ann just said, was the focus on murals and sculptures. If you went through Kathy's first page and her introduction and her skills, and I know Kathy is, her expertise is in that, like, Kathy has construction experience, she has engineering skills. She has been asked in a couple of different, by private people, if I was to put a mural here, what would I need to do? And so Kathy has that expertise and that skill of looking at it and saying, well, that's gonna need a lot of work. Well, that's gonna actually need somebody to come in and do concrete work, which we would have to hire out. And so that's what I was excited to see Kathy, meet the RFP because, Kathy won't talk about herself. She's pretty amazing. So I think if anybody has questions on her skills or about.
So, but Trieste, if you're gonna specifically advocate for hiring Kathy, then you'll need to recuse yourself from this process and like sit up there with her or something like that. Especially if this involves like hiring someone, you're gonna have to do that.
Oh, okay, sure. So do you want me to do that now?
I don't know.
Leave here and, Anne, what would be the procedure?
I think you're fine where you are. I really do, and I appreciate your pointing that out, Emma. I do. Just to be honest, that this was the only proposal that we received.
Right.
So I think what we need to do is, if we have specific questions that we want to ask Kathy, just to confirm that we want to move forward with extending our offer to her, well, I think that makes sense.
Well, I would love it if we could clarify exactly what the proposal is and what we're offering, because I'm not really sure. I mean, I know what the RFP was.
Do you guys want me to call it up? Do you want me to call up what did we say? We were going to hire people.
We were the ones that offered the request for proposal. So I think that's what Kathy was saying. She was just responding to that.
Right. What are the terms of our RFP specifically?
All right,
I have a question. So how long do you think it's going to take to do the inventory?
I believe in the request, there was a timeline that was a few months, which I don't think is a crazy timeline. I think a spring deadline is very doable. So.
Because I guess that where I was getting confused about this was that I thought our RFP was specifically for doing an inventory. It wasn't for doing restorations as well.
No,
But I
that's
don't
what
know.
the RFP was. The RFP was to take a look at the art collection and then also put the condition of it.
Right.
And then also a cost.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
no, I know all that. I was
Yeah.
saying, but not anything more than that.
So nothing more than that. Yeah.
Right.
Nothing more than
It's,
Right.
I would not actually be doing any restoration work.
Right,
It would
right.
basically be like a series of estimates of what all of the costs would be associated with each piece of your public art.
Okay. And you could work within the timelines of whatever the RFP was and the amount
Yes.
of money that it was? Okay, well,
I'm happy to call it up if people want to take a look, and it has been a couple of months since we discussed this as a commission, so I can put this up if you like, but we have a budget of $3,000, so a small budget for the amount of pieces in the city's inventory, and we were requesting a written report that would be due in February, January. January 12th is what's been listed in the RFQ.
but that could be extended.
That could certainly be extended, yes.
Considering
yeah.
it's almost December.
And I think also given, again, why I wanted to say that it was focusing on the murals and sculptures, just that it is such a big collection and a relatively small budget. So I think as a commission, we'll have to give some good guidance.
Well, you're our only applicant and you come highly recommended, so I don't know what else.
Did we ask for images at all in the, it's all written?
We didn't ask for images.
Yeah, how would you feel about adding images to that project?
That spreadsheet already has images on it for the pieces of art.
Yeah, are the images current, though? I guess is my question, if we're gonna be assessing the condition of things like murals.
So some of the pieces are no longer in existence, some have been painted over, so I could update those images with blank walls and have just like approximate measurements and things of where because a lot of times you can still see where the painting was underneath when it's been painted over. So I could do that. I think most of the images were taken within the past 5 years. So that's really not that long ago. But I'm glad to take images, yeah.
I guess, could we just ask that if you see the image on the spreadsheet and you're like, ooh, that's bad, just give us a nice update of the image.
Absolutely.
Yeah, work on that.
Absolutely.
That'd be great.
When you're done doing this, what will it take for us to talk you into applying to join the Arts Commission?
I was just roped into being a co-vice president of the Three Rivers Artists Guild.
Perfect, that means you're qualified.
Not this year.
That's great to hear, since we do want to be involved in the Arts Festival next year, so we should meet again in a different way.
Yes, absolutely. Look forward to communication about the Arts Festival.
And what do we need to do to hire?
Do you folks want to have a discussion with Kathy not present, or do you feel ready to just go ahead and take if you're ready to vote, then I'd like someone to offer a motion that we hire her to.
And I will recuse myself from that.
I offer a motion that we hire Kathy Rowe.
I'll second it.
Great. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great.
Thank you, Tima.
Motion passes.
All right, well,
Congrats.
thank you, Kathy, for being here. Our next steps is that I'll get a contract to you. Yeah, so thank you for being here tonight. Thank you for answering our questions and. Okay. We're looking forward to working with you. Thank you.
We're gonna get to the two agenda items first then, before we get to item number 3. The first one is the County Courthouse Art Committee item.
Thanks. So we, it was great to have that meeting last month when we met with Nancy Bush and Judge Steele. And I've talked with Diana Alves, who is the liaison for the Courthouse Art Committee. They've been meeting as frequently as weekly. They're probably going to start meeting a little bit less frequently, and at least monthly. That's probably too much for any one of us to take on, but I wanted to ask, and I can look at our notes too to see if any of our members already expressed interest in participating, but I'd love to put together a tag team so that at least one of us or someone, a representative from the Oregon City Arts Committee, is at the majority of those art committee meetings. That's my idea, and Diana thought that was also a great idea. But how we implement that, I don't know. So I wanted to see. I think there.
Is that something that you can do, Anne, where like you could just send out an email every time there's a committee meeting coming up and just asking one of us to volunteer to attend? Would that be, because then you'd have a whole pool of 9 commissioners,
Okay.
and probably James is going to respond every time and say yes.
James will not be going
Or
to.
Trius.
James will not be attending those.
Okay.
Some of them happen at
Josh
noon and some of them happen at 5. So they alternate. Some of them are at 5 p.m. Some of them are at noon. So there's more than one a month, but they're not weekly anymore.
Okay.
So do you want me to do that? Just send out a
way to do it, yeah.
What happens if you get no response, though? Then what happens? Nobody says, yeah, I'll go to it.
I mean, that's a good question.
I would ask that if you get no response, then maybe do a, hey, I got no response, can anybody do this? And if not, just be like, okay,
Yeah,
nobody's,
so that's the answer.
nobody steps up, nobody's going, type of thing.
By the way, I meant Josh. I
Oh,
have,
oh, oh.
I have dyslexia. I have dyslexia. I do this all the time, sorry.
What's your thought, Tima?
I was just wondering, it's always one person or can several? It can only be one person, correct, that attends?
Well, that's a good question. I didn't ask that question, actually. I don't see why more than one of us couldn't go. I was thinking the opposite problem, just being able, because they are as frequent as, one or two a month, I was thinking that it'd be hard to, so I didn't ask that question. I will ask that question, but I doubt it'd be a problem if more than one of us wanted to go. Alrighty, well then that's what I'll do. I will get the agenda, the schedule for the next several months and just send it out, and that way, so like as far in advance as they're scheduling them, if people are available. Yeah. Okay. Good. All right. Let's do that.
And then you also asked us to talk about dates for January.
Yeah. Thank you. So thanks for, not everybody responded to the poll that I sent out. I think I only got like 3 or 4 responses. We were looking for a date in January or maybe early February to have a 3-hour strategic plan. And so the most votes that I got right now, let me tell you. Might have to. So 3 people voted for January 25th from 6 to 9. Maybe I just need to send this out again if that time does not work.
What day of the week is that, Ann?
I think they were all Thursdays that we were.
So would that be in replacement to our art commission meeting?
It would be in addition.
And our commission would be on the 18th.
Yeah, so it would be the following. And if people need to look at their calendar again, I'll just send it out again a second time, and we'll get a few more folks, because it's true, I didn't hear from everybody. But as people are looking at their calendars now, do people know their January
I'm still
calendar?
on board for that.
Yeah,
I
I'm
think
good
that
for
was
that
one of the
day.
ones I voted for. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that works for me.
I'm good for that too. I didn't respond, but.
Okay. All right, well, let's tentatively say the 25th of January then for our strategic planning. And I say tentative just because, well, if that works for you, then, and you responded, then I think, and it works for, I'll just double check with Josh, but I think and Tima, does that night work for you, the 25th?
So,
I'll make it
If you're
work.
gonna
I'm
come
going
to
to
a
be
meeting at the end of
starting
January,
studying again for another
and that
exam
means
in
you
March. But I'll make it work.
it might be like
Awesome.
being on the Earth
All right.
Commission again for another term.
Thank you, guys. So let's plan on that. So we have a regularly scheduled meeting on the 18th, and then we'll have a strategic planning session the following Thursday on the 25th. Great. All right, thank you.
And so those are done. The last item that we had under discussion items was ideas and potential resources for a new mural.
Yeah, this is another, can I just say, I love how many, this is an ambitious group of folks. Thank you. Let's talk about another.
Something else. That's something else.
We started talking last month as well about a mural for the retaining wall on Railroad Avenue. And you had some ideas, Trieste, and there was actually some thought too, and I should have asked James to stay, because he's excited about that idea, actually. I'm gonna put you on the spot, Tima. You had some ideas, and Soul Flags had some ideas as well. So let's just brainstorm a little bit right now. We've got some time on the agenda. We've got a couple proposals.
Could you please clarify what part of Railroad Avenue you're talking about?
So as you're facing the elevator, it's right to the right, which is on 7th Street, and it goes from 7th to 8th. And so it's the retaining wall. It's actually owned, need permission from Union Pacific in order to, which they move very slowly, but they're moving again. The train is moving, the wheels are moving. So he contacted me like 2 weeks ago after not hearing from him for a year and said, I didn't realize how many approvals I need, but we're really close. You'll be hearing from me soon.
So are we talking about the part of the retaining wall over by the new bathroom?
No, on the other side of it.
On the other side.
So facing the elevator to the left from 7th to 8th.
Okay.
This was an idea that I talked to Liz Hannum when she was director of DOCA a couple years back, and Kathy, in fact, went with us to take a look at that wall. And Kathy said it's too damaged to really be able to paint a mural on it, but we could go with MDO boards that are sealed and, so our idea was to do it as an interactive community, so get more organizations involved. But I think that's still a little far out, only because Union Pacific will say, looks like it's going ahead, and then it's silent. So another venue too that I know about from a couple years back, which might go with the beer thing, is OC Brewing. Talked about doing a mural on their back wall where all the picnic tables are. They didn't have a lot of money for that, but that might be an opportunity. Those are the ones that I have off the top of my head, but I think Tima has some ideas also.
Yeah. And I know Soulflex had an idea. I didn't realize when we were talking last month, Trieste, that you were thinking of a different part of the wall than what Soulflex had proposed. Are you able?
They have also been in touch with Union Pacific for
Nice.
the other side.
Nice.
So
Do you want to describe what Soulflex had proposed, Tima?
Yeah, so it is the triangular portion of the retaining wall along Railroad Avenue that is near the pedestrian tunnel, directly across from Soul Flags. We had contacted a mural artist who had designed a salmon spawn scene that involved education of the salmon spawn smelt rotation and information about the Willamette River and the falls. And there was discussion of adding, the Grand Ronde into the mural as well, and the native indigenous culture within the mural, and possibly having a portion of it as a paint by number activity for the community members to do the lower section of the wall area. But it was the same deal of getting, just snailed responses from the rail line, which is unfortunate because it's below it. It's not, inhibiting any, rail movement or anything. But it's a bare wall. It would be a perfect location for a mural of some sort. And we got pricing and everything. So it would be great to do something.
Tima, did you ever hear back from Union Pacific from
No.
your request? Would it help if I follow up with still waiting for you? And by the way,
I can follow up too, and let them know one of us heard, the other one
Sure.
didn't.
Sure, I'll do that. I'll do that.
Thank you.
So would it be a good idea, Tima and Trieste, for us to actually make this one project, because I think it would be really nice aesthetic consistency if we had those two ends be some type of conceptual theme all the way through, and just made it like, and so that the team, if you're having a hard time, getting Union Pacific, and obviously you're making progress with them, maybe we did it under one umbrella and it's just one project instead of two different projects.
Great idea.
Worth looking into, for sure, yeah.
For sure.
What was the budget did you have, Trieste, for the one you were thinking?
The budget I had was pretty low because if they're being done on MDO boards, my idea was to have different community service and organizations, children's center, like nonprofit organizations, see if they would want to take a 4-foot by 4-foot MDO board. We'd have it all prepped for them already, send it off to them. Give them a theme of how do you help Oregon City. This is very different though from Tima's idea. So I like the idea. I mean, none of this is written in stone, but for the MDO boards, I think it was only, I want to say it was around $5,800 to buy the boards, do the sealer, get the materials, the paint for it. And to also, because it can't be painted right on, because it's very old, the retaining wall, Kathy said, nah, this isn't quite the condition that it should be in. We would install like a rail so that the MDO boards would be mounted on the rail. My husband worked for museums in the past, for building museums, so he has a lot of great ideas on how to, so those were the things I cost out, was the rail, the MDO boards, the materials.
We could, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry, Trieste. So would that come out of our budget?
I was looking at the Metro Enhancement Grant for it. It was just running it through DOCA as the 503. I mean, because this is going on 2 years.
Yeah.
Of trying to get Union Pacific to respond and see if it's possible.
I think it's a good idea to have a proposal put together either directly from the Arts Commission or another organization to look at the enhancement grant as a good source of funding. Yeah.
We could conceivably marry the two ideas and find an artist or artists to make a design that could be easily replicated into a paint by number situation, and then reach out to organizations, put a little something about maybe their logo in each board so they get visibility. And then it would keep the cost lower, but we could pay the artist for the design. Something like that could work. And then since it seems like it's a slow moving project, I mean, we could look at taking a chunk from our budget to pay an artist and to pay for the amount you already figured out, but also there's a good chance it won't be this year's budget.
Right. Might be next year's.
Yeah.
Because our idea, because Railroad Ave, of course, is a throughway, one-way street, was to do most of the work at the First City Celebration when that road is closed anyway.
That's smart.
So do as much prep work as we could, but then the actual installation and getting everything down there which would be a fun thing to do for First City Celebration.
Tima, did you have another comment?
Yeah, I was just thinking for the area that we had proposed, we got Anna, the artist, involved, and she was going to be providing a 30 or 40% discount because it was a nonprofit and art installation, but combining it, with other artists and Kathy, for sure, to get her involved in that, her, Anna's bid involved, pressure washing the wall, of course, to remove dirt and mold and moss, but, I don't know how detailed, I mean, she touched the wall and everything, but how detailed she was in terms of this wall. I mean, it obviously is going to need a base coat, but that sounded like all that was, in addition to, she didn't really have any concerns regarding the structure of the concrete. But getting the two of them, you know, or other artists, mural artists involved, just to make sure, you know, it's a feasible project, I think is definitely worthwhile.
More discussion around this idea? Around different ideas about murals?
Yeah, maybe we could have, I think it's also possible to have a subcommittee potentially of this group. Like maybe one or two of us and me, could have follow-up, subsequent conversation, to how we want to move this one forward.
Who wants to be on the subcommittee besides Anne and Trieste?
I don't want to be on all the committees. I don't want to do that. Come on, everybody.
Tima? So Tima, Trieste, and Anne?
Awesome, thank you.
Your team, great.
Great.
And my husband's gonna kill me.
We're doing great. We're at 8:20 and we're down to communications. Does anybody have any communications?
No, nope, I have nothing.
You had nothing. I have something very exciting.
Oh.
We've been talking for years on an art cultural center in Oregon City. It is being supported. I can't go into a lot of details right now, but there's a venue. It's supported by the city. Michelle Lee from Oregon City Children's Theater is heading it up, and I am working with her on it. And the city's suggestion to her was form a coalition of not only art organizations, but people like lawyers, politicians, anybody to really start to move this along and be ready to present to the city commission in January, that this is something that is supported by the city. So it's really exciting. It's further along and it's more concrete than I've ever seen. First meeting for the coalition and the people that we've brought together is going to be this Sunday. It is not financial support, it's support for that idea and to be able to move ahead with that. And we have Mark Meek who's interested and, so a lot of very strong people, a lot of people from Rotary. Anybody wants to be a part of Rotary has some really strong community members in it, so they're always good. So we're pretty excited about it. I talked to Mayor Denny, what could I ask? And she said, we really can't as an art commission because of all of the restrictions of not more than one person. Mm-hmm. She said, you can let them know. She goes, that the meeting would be a good time to let everybody know, but we can't go as a group. That would constitute a public meeting. Mm-hmm. So I'll keep you guys informed as we move along. In January, when we will need the city support, maybe we'd be able to, I can talk and find out all the regulations on how we do that as a group to say, yes, this is something that the Art Commission supports.
Yeah, I mean, once you've got this thing done, we'll end up having to spend all of our time on it anyway. So give us a break right now.
So it's exciting. We have a capital planning funding person involved in it. We've met with Multnomah Arts Center. How did you do it? We met with the Lakewood Theater. How did you do it? Which were two great organizations because Lakewood did it with private funding and grants, whereas the Multnomah Arts Center, they fall under the city, under Parks and Rec. So that's how they're financed out there. So it was great, and these people were amazing. They took 2 hours out of their day to tell us every single thing they knew and then take us for a tour of the whole facility, so.
Cool.
It was exciting.
That's great.
Where on Sunday is the event going to be?
It's gonna be, by either Zoom or in person at Oregon City Children's Theater.
At the
Would you be
theater.
able to, or I'm trying to meet all the regulations of our commission. I can send it to you. If you can go, you can go. If,
I'm
Yeah.
going to be going to the Diwali celebration, I think. So.
yeah, well, this isn't till 6 o'clock at night.
okay.
We thought it would be a good time. You know, I know Sundays is hard because it's your personal time. At the same time, 6 o'clock on a Sunday night, maybe you have an hour to spare to just be able to, so.
I mean, I'd be interested in going, but if I went, wouldn't that be like, it would be a public meeting then?
I
so
talked to
think
Denise a couple different times.
yeah,
She
so
said,
I'm gonna just stay away from
only you.
it.
She goes, only you. If you're involved in it at this point.
You're
at
good
this
enough,
point.
you're just like, it's like the Matrix, like, you're kind of like the same as all of us. So.
Yeah. In the black.
Does that count if it's on Zoom too? Like if you're in person and then someone else is in Zoom and silent? I mean, is that okay or not?
That would be fine, yes.
Okay. And the other thing I was thinking maybe to check on it too is Tima is a representative of Soul Flags. She's not going as a representative of the Art Commission. So.
Then you
does
wouldn't have
that
to be
make a
silent.
difference? Yeah,
Yeah, no,
Use
that's a
the
good point.
iPhone.
Yeah, yeah.
that's all I got.
Can you tell us what the location is? You said there's a building already, is it, or is that still?
Yeah, but still, I'm gonna
Okay.
let Michelle handle that part.
Okay.
Because she's the one that's been heading it up and talking to. And yeah, they're trying to kind of keep it a little bit on the QT right now.
Well, that is exciting.
What does that mean on the QT?
On the quiet.
Oh,
What's the
okay.
T for? What does the T stand for? I don't know.
Choir.
I have two questions I just wanted to bring up. I didn't know, I did read the minutes and now I'm like, is it in the minutes? I missed it because I missed last meeting, sorry y'all. Do we have the call for the sculpture yet or? And then my other question is, not really a question, but thinking about, recruiting people for the next round of arts commissioners. I think it would be really great if we focused on performing arts, music, and other things like. I was honestly just thinking of going into Wally's and being like, hey, y'all know the musicians in town. I'd be like, is anybody really professional? You know, just throwing that out there, like, cause I still always think about how number one on the list was people wanted more music. And so, and even when James was presenting, I was just like, making the arts more visible. I was just like, we really do need to get the music out. And it's gonna hit those demographics that he's talking about, I feel, so, and get us visible as well. So anyways.
So should we add that to the agenda for next month? To have a discussion about recruitment?
Well, actually, so two things are gonna happen next month. We are gonna talk about the RFQ and the missing statue, and when maybe Jen can give us a quick update. And we are also gonna have elections for 2024 next month. So I do know at this point, we have 3 spots, and we have, I'm not sure how many, we have 3 spots and 2 candidates right now. But I don't know what Selena is up to. I would say, so this is not, I have not had the opportunity to talk to Selena, so we may be 3 for 3. I don't know.
So regarding choir's suggestion about, is it past the deadline for applying for the Arts Commission?
No, it's not past the deadline.
Okay.
So if you know people who may be interested, please,
Look for performers and go to Wally's.
Yeah.
Okay.
Or even people that run venues too, like, do the business side of it.
awesome.
So my announcement is something that I work on all year, that we're having it's not quite well, I guess it sort of is arts related, but not so much. We're having a Transgender Day of Remembrance Interfaith Vigil, and it's going to be up in Portland on Sunday. It's at 4 p.m. at First United Methodist Church, and we have a variety of interfaith leaders coming, including Reverend Mark Knudsen, Claire Hall, who's Licking County Commissioner, who's transgender, leaders of a lot of the major faith institutions in town will be there. And we'll be also reading the names of transgender, non-binary people who've been murdered in the past year. So if you're available and you want to come to it, it's something that a committee I work with works on all year.
Where's it gonna be, Emma?
First United Methodist Church in Goose Hollow. That's my announcement.
I just want to make a comment too. The sculpture, which I think we have to read again, the Metro Enhancement Grant, but I think the portion of money was going to go to that. So that money has to be used by the end of June. So, just so we keep that in mind, that the RFQ still has to go out. We still have to find an artist, and then the artist has to work on it and install it.
We have a draft RFQ, we just didn't get it out in time for this meeting.
Oh, okay.
That we'll look at next month and hopefully just roll right into it.
Right. And I've been meeting, I think even on what was the weekend that almost our organization had their art studio tours.
Yeah.
You could go, met 2 artists that are like amazing installations. So yeah, you'd start to reach out to whoever we know. These are metal artists, but they're phenomenal, so.
Yeah, thank you for working on that, Jen. And yeah, so we'll, I'll get a draft out to you before we meet in December, and we'll have a chance to review it, and we could get it out in January.
More personal note, if you guys have time this weekend, my art is in One Lane Road. I'm their feature artist this month. And their shop, if you have not been in Becky Dawson's shop, it is delightful. It is whimsical and fun and a little sometimes off color. It's perfect. Like, so yeah, she has the shop open from 10 to 4 on Saturdays and Sundays. And this is the last, obvious. She does it every other weekend. So this is the last weekend. It'll be open this month. So
Nice.
if you all want to go check it out. Oh, it's like, gosh, what's the street? It's off of River Road?
Clackamas River Drive, so you go
Yes, Clackamas River Drive.
just a little past that roundabout on Clackamas River Drive, and it's like the first left. You're like going into a little industrial area, but she has a little bit of signage.
Yeah, she
So,
does it, like,
Yeah.
big signage up there.
Kind of like down there by the Home Depot or something.
Yeah,
Oh, well,
past
it's
the Home
past,
Depot.
yeah, so past the Home Depot. So you go past the Home Depot, you go under the,
205.
or 213.
213, yeah.
Under 213, through the roundabout, and then just, I don't know, like a quarter mile.
The Subaru, right? The Subaru dealership? It's right over, like 2 doors down from
No,
there.
that's,
No.
No, I'm thinking of something else.
that's Main Street.
Foresight,
Foresight, there you go.
It's like her.
Yeah, it's
shop.
near
She has,
Foresight.
like, cards and her art on pillows and tea
Yeah.
towels, and she has like pottery and just
Yeah.
a lot of cute stuff, like stickers.
Lots of stuff.
I need birthday gifts on there.
Yeah, really good gifty stuff. Really good gifty stuff. So. And of course, I have my things for sale. Stickers, cards, prints, some originals. There you go.
I don't have any news other than the RFP. That was my news.
All right.
Great, well, I guess the meeting's adjourned.
Okay. Want to do an official adjournment? Yay! Thank you, everyone.
Very good. I have a question.
news.
Oh, yeah, wait,
Oh
sorry.
my gosh.
Go ahead, Tima.
I'm so sorry.
Diwali
Oh,
Festival.
that's right.
that's been mentioned a couple times, is this weekend, funded by the Oregon City Arts Commission. It's from 11 to 3 on Sunday at the Pioneer Community Center. Plenty of fun, free activities, different art creations, a scavenger hunt, free Diwali-related books. There'll be dance lessons and all sorts of fun, different activities and speakers. So free to the public, and we hope to see you guys there.
Great.
What is the hours again, Tima? I know you mentioned it.
3.
11 to 3. How exciting, yeah, the Hindu Festival of Lights. Really fun.
And I've been busy making marigold chains out of tissue paper, so hence why I'm home.
Great. Gosh, that sounds great. Thank you.
Very cool. All righty.
All right.
Now we can be officially adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for chairing the meeting there.
Thanks for-